Good morning. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about everything having to do with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. I have no idea, but I saw on, I Googled her one day, I hate to admit it, and I discovered that she was born on November 24th, 1964. Now, that was shocking to me, but not shocking to me. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Obviously, I'm not into astrology to that extent or anything like that, but I think there are some interesting, some interesting. It's interesting. It's an interesting idea. This thing of astrology, and but I was stunned, Kermam, to find out that Samantha was Sagittarius, but because I'm not Sagittarius, but I'm kind of Sagittarius. I am on the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn. So I'm like a late December Sagittarius. And I'm not Sagittarius, I'm Capricorn. But I claim Sagittarius because there's just so much fire in me, I was meant to be Sagittarius, I think. And so I must have arrived a few days late or something. I don't know. But the Sagittarius, I think, the Sagittarians from November, I think, are different from the Sagittarians in December anyway. And again, I'm not Sagittarius, I'm Capricorn, but I missed Sagittarius by a day. What's interesting about Samantha, however, is that her birthday is one day after my older sister's birthday, which was very, very interesting because my older sister and I have always had a difficult relationship. There's no question about that. She's my sister, I'm her sister. We love each other, we're sisters, but it was very, very difficult. And so when I found out she was the 24th, I thought, I would have been we probably would not have gotten along if we were sisters, like her and Meghan. Leo is also a fire sign. So Sagittarius and Leo, which is what Meghan is, are fire signs. And, that could be something to do with it. But I was trying to analyze Samantha based on what I know about my sister, who is November 23rd. And why would she be this way towards her younger sister? Well, I think for one thing, Meghan triggers something in Samantha. My sister says that to me all the time. I mean, you are definitely my trigger. She said that like a week ago. Literally, you are my trigger, she said. And I was kind of hurt by it because I was hoping that, after all these years, that I was no longer her trigger, because she's not my trigger. She doesn't trigger me. I love her, that's it. But she said to me about a week or two ago, we were talking, and I mean, we talk fairly regularly now, and she said, you are definitely my trigger. And we were talking about certain things that happened in childhood where she would become unhinged with rage about what I thought were very small things, maybe me just being me, really, One of the things I was, okay, maybe I'm annoying, but, I like sweet things, maybe I'm an addict of sugar. I don't know, maybe. So, you can't put a cookie in front of me. You can't put a cake. You just can't. You just can't. It's not fair, right? Because I cannot control my impulse to eat it. And so she had baked something. It was not they were not cookies, but they were sweet things, and they were for a little party. And I mean, I sampled one, and then maybe I sampled another one. And potentially, maybe I sampled a third. I don't know if I sampled a third, but I did sample a couple at a minimum. And she went absolutely crazy, my sister. And she took the entire rest of whatever it was she had baked and she threw them all into the garbage. And so, because I had sampled it and it wasn't time for the party, and she was over it, and she was just sick of it, and she didn't want to deal with me anymore, and I had triggered her. And we had a really good laugh about it 2 weeks ago. We've laughed about it for years and years, because it's so typical of the kinds of things that would trigger my sister. And but me, I would be just laughing, and it was just me being me. I mean, I didn't mean any harm. I didn't, I had, just, I'm just being me. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, even now, I mean, think about it. She and I are in the same age range as Samantha. And she says to me, "You're still my trigger." And I was like, because we were talking and she felt like my energy levels were too much for her so early in the morning. And she was like, "You need to slow down." And she started to get like the way she would be in the past. And she said to me that "You're still my trigger." And I couldn't understand, what do you mean my energy levels? I have no energy levels. I mean, I can barely move, for God's sake. I have to have 2 cups of coffee. Look, I don't have any energy. But it was like, even now she's like this. It's too much, right? And so I'm looking at Meghan and Samantha. And I think that Meghan triggers something very negative in Samantha. And she doesn't mean to do it. It's just her very existence triggers Samantha. Now, Samantha, as a Sagittarius person, I will tell you this. She's doing what she really feels is right. And these Sagittarian people, myself included, can be very, very opinionated. They're very opinionated, right? Now, I had an aunt also who was also Sagittarius. She was a December Sagittarius, but early December Sagittarius, and she was difficult. She was difficult. I mean, she also had a younger sister, my younger aunt, and she was brutal with her. Brutal to the end, because she recently died. And she was absolutely brutal with regard to how she perceived my grandmother treated her in relation to my younger aunt, who is her younger sister. These types of people, these Sagittarius people, can be very, very almost ruthless when it comes to their perceived share of the family love, the family resources, the family attention, the gravity of the family, the nucleus of it. They're very possessive of that. They feel they own that. They feel that they have the right to police it. You know, it's not so much that they want it all for themselves, but they have this sense of being entitled to an equal portion. And God forbid that portion should be even slightly off in their mind. They go completely berserk. Okay? Now, I've never met Samantha. I don't know her. So this is just my opinion. This is just my observation. She has a very strong possessive um, possessive, relation. She feels it's not that she possesses their father, but that she was first. She was the first daughter. So in a way, yeah, she feels like her dad belongs to her more even than he belongs to Meghan. And she feels that it's unfair that when Meghan came around, um, in Samantha's mind, Meghan got more. Meghan probably did get more because their dad at that point was 17 years older than he was when Samantha was a child. And so he was more settled in his career. He had more resources and he was able to provide Meghan with more than he was probably able to provide Samantha just by virtue of the fact that he was now older and more settled in his career. But as the daughter, Samantha is completely unable to do that analysis. She doesn't care why. All she knows is the result. Meghan got more in her mind than she did, and it's not fair in her mind. And so this triggers her. It triggers her. And on top of that, Samantha also has all these other things that just simply went wrong in her life. Her children, right? She apparently lost custody of her children. And whether or not that was justified is irrelevant. I mean, she did pop them out, right? These are her kids, right? They grew in her stomach. And there's something there that is in her that believes that they belong to her. There's a possessive gene there. And, she lost custody. Obviously, that's not Meghan's fault. When Samantha was having children, Meghan was probably 7 years old, if that. This has nothing to do with Meghan when Samantha was losing custody of her children. But it doesn't matter in Samantha's mind. What matters is she doesn't have her children. It's somebody's fault, right? And who can she pin the blame on but that spoiled little brat who triggers her, you know? Again, this is my theory. I'm not saying that this is fact. This is my theory about why Samantha behaves in the way she does towards Meghan. She also has a very strong sense of like responsibility in the sense that, well, look, I mean, this is our dad and you're rich, so take care of him, period. Um, and Meghan is a Leo, so she's generous by nature as well. I mean, I don't understand what happened there with, my sense is that both Samantha and Meghan's and their father, Thomas Markle, believes that Meghan did not help him enough. And I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened there. He was living in Mexico. He was a very successful lighting director. He won Emmy Awards for his work, so he was not a nobody. He probably had a very good pension from whatever those pensions are for these Hollywood people. I don't know. I would have to speak with Meghan to know, well, was your dad in need and did you not help him? And if not, why does Samantha perceive this to be the case? Samantha perceives that their dad was in need and Meghan didn't help him. And this makes her angry because she feels that Meghan got rich because of all these privileges that Meghan got, which Samantha, did not get. And therefore, Meghan has a greater responsibility to pay back their father, who in Samantha's mind is a little bit, I mean, probably, I don't know, but in her mind, because she's the first, again, she probably feels like a stronger sense of possession towards her dad. Um, and then, of course, she's in a wheelchair. And, there's Meghan sailing off, marrying a prince, okay, living in a palace, okay, being world famous and this, that, and the next, while she's stuck in a wheelchair, and and so on and so forth. And so this only builds her resentment towards Meghan. And I think it just, she becomes even more triggered. She becomes even more triggered. And the situation just spiraled out of control. And then she wasn't invited to the wedding on top of it. Which I say to myself, look, Samantha, would you have expected to be invited to the wedding if Meghan had married some guy who went to CUNY Law School and, has a little house in New Jersey, right? No. But because she married a prince, you expect to be invited to the wedding, even though you haven't spoken to your sister in God knows how many years, and you haven't seen her in much longer than that. I don't know whether that was fair to Meghan, right? To expect that she would invite you to the wedding, especially based on your behavior at the time, Samantha. The only thing I know for sure is that with this Sagittarius element that just has come into this thing, you know, it cannot really be bridged in the sense that she's always going to be triggered by Meghan. She's always going to be triggered by Meghan unless Meghan has some kind of spectacular fall, where she's just completely rendered below Samantha in Samantha's mind, and then Samantha can then sort of be on top of Meghan finally, and maybe even generously help Meghan in some way. I mean, I don't know. I think that it would require something like that to sort of calibrate the balances for Samantha, just based on her birthday alone. I mean, because it's really I think a big part of this dynamic between them. But obviously there are other things at play. I still feel bad. I mean, Meghan, unfortunately for her, is just who she is. You know what I mean? She got the best of everything. She got the best of her father. I mean, look at her. She got the best of her mother. Look at her. She's very dignified and classy like her mom. And then she also worked on herself. I mean, she has done things that neither her mother nor her father have done. So not everything comes from her parents. She also has her own individual input that she put into herself to develop herself, to grow herself, to expand herself, to make herself the very best human being she could possibly be. She did the work. And then a prince saw her. It's not her fault that a prince saw her and fell in love with her. It's not her fault, Samantha. It's not her fault. You're still beautiful, and very beautiful, in fact. You look a lot alike to your sister. And, I don't know. I wish you would see past all of these petty things and come together as sisters once again.